height, dim the streets in moonlight bright. We dissect the cinematic art, real by real we pull apart.
Welcome back to Real Talk. If you're new here, this is a show where I dive into films that entertain, inspire, and every once in a while leave us sitting here with our heads tilted asking, what on earth did I just watch? I'm your host Josh, and today we're tackling a film that fits squarely into that last category. Sharknado. That's right, you heard that. It's the film that we're going to jump into today. This 2013 B-movie has tornadoes, it has sharks, and apparently it has enough absurdity to make the world stop and take notice. Now let me just say this up front. This movie is not what you'd call good by traditional standards. It is not winning any Oscars, it's not tugging at anyone's heartstrings, and it is definitely not an example of cutting-edge filmmaking. But somehow, it carved out a space in pop culture. People seem to love it for its outrageousness. Now, full disclosure, I personally do not fall into that camp. In fact, I'm still trying to figure out how this thing became such a cultural phenomenon. Maybe it's because people couldn't believe a movie called Sharknado actually existed, let alone became this franchise with multiple sequels. Maybe it's because it's so ridiculous that it's kind of fun to hate watch. Or maybe the filmmakers just tapped into some secret formula for so bad it's good success. Whatever it is, I cannot deny that this is a conversation piece, and that's why we're here today. So what can you expect in this episode? Well, I'm going to dive into what makes Sharknado such a talked about cult classic. We'll look at the chaos, the charm, if you can call it that, and whether it's a misunderstood gem or just an outright disaster. And of course, I'll be sharing my signature take in the Real Talk segment at the end, where I'll give you my final verdict. So let's strap in, folks, because if you thought regular disaster movies were wild, wait until you throw sharks into the mix. This is Sharknado, and trust me, it's a ride. Hey, need a boost without the crash? Head over to dubby.gg, that's dubby.gg, for all your energy drink needs. No sugar, no fillers, just clean focus and serious flavor. And here's the kicker. Use the code REALREAL, REALREEL, at checkout and score 10% off your order. That's REALREAL, one word, for 10% off at dubby.gg. Fuel up, stay sharp, keep it real. Looking for chills that crawl up your spine and reviews that cut deeper than a butcher's blade? Welcome to Real Talk Horror Edition, where classic slashers, indie creepers, and cult nightmares are dissected with a bloody passion. Whether you're into slow burns or splatterfests, we've got the guts, the gore, and the geek out. So dim the lights, press play, and let your darkest curiosities run wild. Real Talk Horror Edition, where horror lives and breathes. Real horror, real talk. Available anywhere you get your podcasts. All right, well, let's start by diving into some background on this cinematic tornado or disaster, whatever you want to call it, Sharknado. This gem of a film came out in 2013, directed by Anthony C. Ferrante. Yes, a real person, not an Alan Smithy film. And it stars Ian Ziering and Tara Reid. And right there, you know you're in for something special. The plot, if you can even call it that, is simple. A freak tornado picks up a bunch of sharks from the ocean and flings them across Los Angeles. Chaos ensues, there's carnage, there's a lot of screaming, and somehow, through sheer audacity, it's a comedy. Like actual laugh out loud moments, though probably not where the filmmakers had intended. This wasn't just some random indie film thrown together in a basement. It was part of sci-fi's long-running tradition of so bad they're good creature features. You know the type. They had Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, Dino Croc, and Mansquito. Sci-fi had this weird ability to churn out low-budget monster movies that were basically designed for you to roast them with your friends on a Friday night with a couple of beers. But somehow, Sharknado blew up in a way none of the others ever did. And let's be real, this movie should not have worked. By all accounts, it is a disaster. Pun fully intended. The effects are straight out of middle school PowerPoint project. The acting is, well, let's just say Ian Ziering and Tara Reid do their best. And the dialogue, it feels like it was written by someone who Googled how to write a screenplay 5 minutes before the cameras rolled. Yet somehow, all of that ridiculousness combined into this bizarre, lightning in a bottle moment captured people's attention. Sharknado didn't just stay in the world of late night TV, it went viral. People were tweeting about it, making memes, hosting watch parties. Suddenly, this tiny, ridiculous sci-fi original was a pop cultural phenomenon. And then the sequels. And oh, the sequels. 5 that I know of, to be exact. Each of them somehow upping the insanity. Like Sharknado 2, the second one, and Sharknado 3, oh hell no. And by the time they got to Sharknado 6, the last Sharknado, it's about time. They were literally throwing sharks into time travel. Yes, time travel. So why am I covering Sharknado on this podcast? I mean, this is real talk where I try to take movies seriously, or at least pretend to. But here's the thing, love it or hate it, you can't deny that Sharknado is unforgettable. It's the kind of movie that kind of lives rent-free in your head because of just how outrageous it is. Even if you think it's trash, and trust me, I do. It's the kind of trash that makes you stop and think, how did this even get made and why am I still watching? Look, I don't think anyone's arguing that this is high art. It's not even good low art. But what it is, and this is what I think makes it special, is that it's just fun. It's the kind of film you watch with a group of friends, popcorn flying everywhere as you laugh at how ridiculous it is. It's not trying to win Oscars or its TV so Golden Globes or Emmys or even make sense. It's just here to entertain in the most absurd and broad way possible. And honestly, there is something kind of brilliant about that. So let's buckle up because there's a tornado of sharks that's about to take us on a wild ride through the bizarre, hilarious, and painful world of Sharknado. So let's get into it. Alright, let's talk about the plot of Sharknado, and I use that word very loosely because honestly calling it a plot feels like giving it way too much credit. This movie follows Finn Shepard. Yep, his actual name, and no, I'm not sure why they didn't just go all the way and call him Fish, but Finn Shepard, played by Ian Ziering. He's a bar owner and former surfer, which is apparently all the qualifications you need to lead a ragtag team of survivors through a freak tornado. Except, of course, as we all know, this is no ordinary tornado. It's full of sharks. Flying sharks. So let's set this stage. Los Angeles is hit by this bizarre weather phenomenon that somehow manages to scoop up thousands of sharks from the ocean and hurl them into the city. Don't ask how the sharks are alive and biting in midair. Don't ask how this tornado defies every law of physics. This movie is not here for your science questions. Instead, it's here to throw sharks at people in some of the most ridiculous ways imaginable. Finn teams up with his ex-wife, played by Tara Reid, who delivers every line with the enthusiasm of someone reading their grocery list. A handful of other characters who are so paper thin you could probably blow them away with a gentle breeze. Together, they try to save the city, their family, and themselves from the storm of this carnage. But there is something about Sharknado, because it doesn't even pretend to make sense. Logic, realism, and basic physics are just thrown out the window. Probably right into the tornado. And honestly, that's probably part of its charm. This isn't a movie you watch to analyze or critique. This is a movie you watch because you want to laugh at how completely over the top it is. Now, if you've heard anything about Sharknado, or I'm sure you've seen it, because haven't we all, but chances are you heard about that scene, the chainsaw scene. Ian Ziering's character, Finn, leaps into the mouth of a flying shark, wielding a chainsaw, and somehow not only survives, but manages to cut his way out of the shark from the inside. Yes, it's as insane as it sounds. I remember watching it and thinking, okay, this is it. This is where movies officially stopped trying to be serious. It's so absurd, so out there that you can't help but laugh. And honestly, it's moments like that that make Sharknado what it is. And I think another standout moment for me, and I use the word standout loosely, has to be the scene where the sharks are literally raining down on the streets of LA. Picture this, sharks flying through the air, smashing through windows, landing on sidewalks while pedestrians react with the kind of mild concern you'd expect if it were, a light drizzle or something. No one is screaming in terror, they're just sort of annoyed. The complete lack of urgency from everyone involved makes the scene somehow funnier. It's like the director told the extras, okay, act like it's a mild inconvenience that the sharks are falling from the sky. And boy, did they nail it. So why does this movie kind of work? What makes Sharknado so memorable is that it doesn't try to be anything other than what it is. It's a ridiculously over-the-top, less than a B movie that leans all the way into its absurd premise. There's a certain kind of magic in how unapologetically bad it is. The dialogue is hilariously cheesy. Lines like, "We're gonna need a bigger chopper." Come on. The special effects are, well, special in my first CGI software kind of way. And the acting, let's just say Ian Ziering is trying his best to take this seriously while everyone else seems to be in on the joke. But here's the thing, I think this movie knows it's ridiculous. Like I said, it's not trying to win any awards. It's just trying to be a fun and mindless ride that you can watch with your friends and laugh at. And in that sense, it does succeed. I mean, where else are you going to see sharks getting hurled through the air by a tornado, attacking helicopters, and getting blasted out of the sky? So while the plot is a complete mess, the characters are forgettable, the logic is non-existent, and there's something kind of endearing about how shamelessly wild it all is. You can't really be mad at a movie like Sharknado because it's not asking to be taken seriously. It's just here for a good time, not a long time. So I think if you're a fan of movies that are so bad they're good, Sharknado is probably right up your alley. It's the kind of film you throw on during a party, crack open a drink, and laugh at with your friends. But if you're looking for an actual good movie, keep walking, because Jaws, this isn't. Maybe that's the beauty of Sharknado. It's not for everyone, but for the people who love it, it's a cult classic. For me, one and done kind of experience. Kind of glad I watched it once, but not something I'll be revisiting anytime soon. and I can't imagine I'm going to choose to watch any of the sequels. Alright, let's get into it. We've talked about what Sharknado is, how it came to be, and why it has this strange cult-like following. But now it's time for the real talk. What do I personally think of this movie? Spoiler alert, it's not great. But let me break it down a bit more conversationally, shall we? So here's the thing. Sharknado is one of those movies you really can't judge by traditional standards. It's almost like it dares you to hate it while laughing at the fact that you even tried to take it seriously. It's campy, it's ridiculous, and it knows exactly what it's doing. At least I think it does. But that doesn't automatically make it enjoyable, at least not for everyone. Now, if you're the kind of person who loves gathering friends, cracking open some drinks, and just roasting a movie from start to finish, then yeah, this is going to be your jam. It's got all the ingredients for that so good it's bad experience. Cheesy CGI sharks? Check. Absurd action sequences? Double check. Dialogue that sounds like it was written by an AI after watching one too many bad action movies? Absolutely triple check. But for me, it's more of a one and done kind of thing. Sure, I laughed at some of the absurdity of the moments, like the chainsaw scene. That was pretty insane. But the novelty wore off pretty quickly. By the time the third or fourth shark was flying through the air in slow motion, I found myself thinking, okay, we get it, sharks and tornadoes. What else have you got? And spoiler alert, not much. And let's talk about the story, or the vague series of events they're calling a story. It's like someone sat down and thought, what's the wildest thing we can do with sharks? Then they threw out rules of logic and physics and storytelling. Normally, in a disaster movie, there's this underlying structure. You care about the characters, you understand their motivations, and you're interested in their survival. Think Poseidon Adventure, Twister, Jaws. Sharknado, not so much. The characters here feel more like props than people. They're there to deliver these corny one-liners and make ridiculous decisions and serve as shark bait, sometimes literally. Ian Ziering is supposed to be this everyman hero, but let's be honest, he spends most of the movie either yelling at people or doing things that just don't make sense, like wielding a chainsaw against flying sharks. Tara Reid is, well, she's Tara Reid. She's there, and that's really all I can say. The pacing is another issue. It's chaotic, and not in a fun, action-packed way, but in a way that feels like the movie is just throwing things at you non-stop, hoping you won't have time to realize how little sense any of it makes. It's all spectacle, no substance. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that works. But here, it just felt exhausting. So here we are, the final verdict. Look, I get the appeal of Sharknado. I really do. It's like junk food for your brain. It's quick, it's easy, and kind of fun in the moment. But ultimately, not very satisfying. For some people, that's enough. And honestly, if this movie brings you joy, more power to you. I love it. Go watch it. Enjoy it. Please do. But for me, it's just not my thing. And let me put it this way. If I were to rate it just purely on entertainment value, maybe it'd get a couple of points for its sheer audacity. But as a film, as a piece of storytelling, it's a 1 out of 10, and only because I can't give it less points than that. Easily one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and not in a charming Troll 2 redeemable way. It leans so hard into its campy premise that it forgets to deliver anything meaningful or memorable beyond, look, sharks in a tornado. Maybe it would have been a good short film, little 30-minute teaser in between a couple of other movies. Maybe that's the point. Maybe Sharknado was never meant to be good. Maybe it was always meant to be a goofy, absurd spectacle that you watch with your brain fully turned off. If that's the case, mission accomplished. But as someone who loves movies, even bad ones, I just couldn't get into this one. Alright, I've said my piece, but I'd love to hear from you. Am I missing something here? Is Sharknado secretly a masterpiece of bad cinema that I'm just too uptight to appreciate? Let me know what you think. I'm all ears. Wow, alright, we reached the end of another episode of Real Talk, and I've got to say, whether you love or hate Sharknado, there's no denying it's left its mark on the world of cinema, or at least on the world of ridiculous B-movies. Before we wrap things up, let me remind you to please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Seriously, it just takes a second, but it makes a huge difference for the podcast. Plus, it's the easiest way to make sure you never miss an episode. Whether it's me roasting a B-movie like Sharknado or diving into a true cult classic, I'm here to bring you all the laughs, insights, and hot takes. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, or even if you didn't and you just want to vent about how much you love flying sharks, leave me a review. Your feedback not only helps me improve the show, but also helps other film buffs find Real Talk. It's like you're part of my street team, helping me spread the word about our little corner of the podcast world. Now, I know some of you out there, you movie lovers with your strong opinions, you've got a favorite film. Or maybe there's a movie you think I should give the Real Talk treatment. I'm all ears. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Real Talk Pod, or Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky at Real Talk. Email me therealrealtalk@gmail.com. Let me know. I love hearing suggestions, and who knows, your pick might be the star of a future episode. Speaking of future episodes, I'm actually really excited for what's coming next. I get to switch some gears and completely this time dive into a timeless feel-good classic. 1965's The Sound of Music. This one is a masterpiece in every sense of the word, iconic songs, unforgettable performances, and a story that has stood the test of time. I'm already humming Do Re Mi just thinking about it. Whether you've seen it 100 times or it's been years since your last watch, I don't think you're going to want to miss this episode. Before I go, I just want to say how much I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. This podcast is my passion, and knowing that you're out there listening and sharing these cinematic journeys with me means the world. So thank you. All right, that's it for me today. Until next time, keep watching, keep loving, and keep those reels rolling. We'll talk to you soon.
Underneath the silver screen, gleam, talking reels and all their schemes. Dusty scenes and dreams unfold, stories told in shadows bold. Gritty plots and whispers tight,